Hello and welcome to AP Psychology. My name is Amanda Rollman and I'll be teaching your student this year. The goal of this video is really twofold. I want to make sure that you're aware of what the expectations are of students once they enter AP Psychology, and to make sure that you're aware of how to access all of the resources we provide to our AP Psych students to ensure that they're successful not only in the course, but in the AP exam in May. So the first thing I want to emphasize is my contact information. So that way, in case you have any questions or concerns, that you can get a hold of me whenever you need to. One way to do it is through the school's phone number. It's 922-2300 and my extension is 5583. You can leave me a voicemail and then I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But the most surefire way to get a hold of me is through email. My email address is my last name _A at ohlsd.org. If you have difficulty spelling my very German last name, no worries. If you go to the school's website, we do have hyperlinks of staff email addresses if you go to the department links on that page. So, a few things that I would like to discuss with you as we move through this video are all of the resources that we provide to our AP Psych students. One thing I do want to point out is ohlsd.org. This is kind of our district's one-stop shop, so to speak, for all of the various different websites or resources that students can access as they move through the school year. What I do want to emphasize with you is this website, Moodle. Moodle is what we use here at the high school for uploading all of our various different resources specifically for each course. So you can think of this as each course's individual website housing, if you will. So when you click on the Moodle link, it'll bring you to this screen, which is the login information. Now, you will need your student's student ID and their school-issued password. I can't emphasize enough that you really need to ensure that your student doesn't misplace this or forget it. Because it is so important, and we emphasize this from day one, that students access Moodle for this course daily. Now, I recognize that this is not the only class that your student is taking, and there may be very many other courses they are involved in that house Moodle websites as well. So it's my hope that your student will be accessing Moodle fairly frequently. But if they've never had access to it before, they've never used it, it's very important to recognize that they will need to be going onto the class's Moodle site, if not once a day, then in some scenarios even 2 to 3 times a day. So once you put in your student's ID number as their username and then their school-issued password, you are going to be brought to my class website. Now, if they're involved in multiple courses that have Moodle sites, it'll bring you to the student's homepage, and all you need to do is simply click on AP Psychology Rollman, and that'll bring you here. So on this website, I post every bit of information that I discuss with students in class. Anything that I think that they're going to need in order to be successful in here. I post announcements, updates on possible changes to homework assignments, additional resources that students might want to take a look at if they're struggling with a concept. I do have a course calendar right here that you can see for September of this year. We give students plenty of advance notice on when assignments are due. And so what students really need to be mindful of as they move through this course is time management. Because there's so much advanced notice on everything, as you can see, this is everything from first quarter, for example. Because there's that advance notice, we really do not allow much wiggle room when it comes to the expectation of assignments and their due dates. We have a pretty strict late policy and a pretty strict policy when it comes to missing work. This isn't meant to be mean or very difficult for students, but because we're an advanced placement course that follows college expectations, we're really trying to provide students with that opportunity to develop that skill set now, so that way they have it once they move to college, or even if they intend on going into a career once they leave high school. So it's also important to know that where these due dates are concerned, Google Calendar can have setups where it will text message your student in advance of when an assignment is due to provide them with that reminder so that way they don't forget and end up turning in something late or not turning something in at all. Now, as you move down the website, you'll be able to see introductory materials, and these will be available to you at any point during the school year, not just here in these very first initial days of school when you are bombarded with all of these different handouts to sign and things that you need to do. Below the introductory materials are housing our sections of psychology that we cover. We move through 14 units of psychology, but we do it in 12 sections. So in these sections, they're always labeled with the units that we cover, and we always post printable notes that students can write out and print by hand, or if they're better at typing and they feel more comfortable doing that as they move through notes, they have that ability as well. We post all of our video notes because we do operate in here on what we call a flipped classroom. The expectation is students do what was traditionally done in the classroom, so notes, at home by watching videos of explanations of that content. So that way we can really benefit students by using the course time together in class to further students' understanding, clarify any questions that they might have, or to do some activities that can really help the content kind of hit home for them. So we put all of our video notes on here, and we also provide students with any supplementals that go along with those video notes or any other kind of activities that we complete in class. We also have for every single unit a review folder that has practice tests or review guides that will be available for students, and we even have a page for videos that students can look through to kind of provide them with real-world examples of these concepts to again facilitate their understanding of things. Now, one of the final things that I do want to discuss with you comes from the syllabus, and that is something that I have found to be a fairly common struggle for students as they first get into this course. Advanced placement means advanced placement. So we go at a very fast pace in terms of the amount of content that we cover in the days that we cover it. One of the biggest things that students often have difficulty with in terms of adjusting when they get in here is the demands of the work and the expectations with that. We have a 20% deduction policy in work that is turned in late. So for every day that is late, 20% of that point total will be deducted from a student's assignment. And unfortunately, for many students, when it comes to projects or things like that, that large point totals are involved, students end up suffering where their grade is concerned because they just weren't doing what they needed to do to get that work in on time. Another struggle students often have is absence. I recognize that students have very busy schedules, that you have a very busy schedule, and that sometimes doctor's appointments have to be scheduled during the school day, or that students do get sick and it's, unfortunate timing. But we really do ask that students be here as much as possible. And if they do know that they are going to be out, that they speak to either myself or any of the other teachers that are involved in psychology ahead of time, so that way they know what it is that they're going to be missing, they can get it situated, and so that way they can turn it in the day that they return, which is the expectation of this course. So again, a lot of trouble that students have with that because once they come back, they forget to bring what was expected or what was due while they were out, and so then that late policy ends up being put into place. So again, I want to remind you that if you ever have any questions or concerns, or even if you just want to touch base with me, that you get a hold of me in any way that you are most comfortable with. But I would like to end this video by saying that I am very excited for the year ahead. I really do believe that much of what we cover in this course will be very relatable for your student, and they will find it engaging and interesting. But if you ever find that they feel really overwhelmed with what we're covering in class, that they're getting frustrated, or they feel in any way like they won't be successful, I ask that you speak to me about it if your student is not necessarily willing to do so. Sometimes when we find ourselves in advanced placement courses, students feel a bit swayed away from asking for help because they don't want to be perceived as someone who is, as they would see it, slower than those that are in the advanced placement course. Please do not let your student fall into that trap. I am always more than happy to help my students when it comes to understanding this content. They can come see me at any point before school. They can see me after school. I have a planning bell during second period that they're more than welcome to come see me. If they have lunch when it corresponds with mine, I'm happy to work with them as well. I really want to make sure that your student is successful for this course and for the AP exam. So I look forward to the year ahead, and if you ever have any questions, please feel free to get in contact with me.